together for a long time.
No, we have. It's awesome.
Let's just have a
Well,
conversation.
yes, we have a great group of the four of us who we migrated from a mastermind group over 2 years ago,
3.
3 years ago. And we have been a foursome of force
I
of
love
these
it.
dynamic ladies over the past 3 years. And it's been an amazing journey. My name is Karen Bonina-Traj, and I am a health and performance coach. I specialize in helping athletes become the best version of themselves, mentally and physically, so they can perform at the top of their games. I'd like to introduce one of our other powerful coaches, Karen Preston.
Thanks, Karen. My name is Karen Benoit Preston, and I am also a coach focused specifically around values and how the more you're able to hone in on your truths, the more you're able to reach your max potential in all aspects of your life. So this is a passion that I've had. It's starting back in our mastermind and realizing how important values really are. It's the crux of who we really are and how we make decisions and everything. So when we see conflict in our lives and we understand that it's a challenge to a value, then we can start to have those conversations differently when we realize what our values really do mean to us, or or they don't mean to us. So I'm glad to be a part of this group. Nancy, take it away.
Sure. Hey, everybody. I am Nancy Coble. I am a life and leadership coach. I'm also a certified Dare to Lead facilitator. So who I coach, I've been coaching new moms transitioning back to work. Many of them are in leadership roles in male-dominated fields, and I love coaching them through that. I am also working on coaching braver leaders and balanced in masculine and feminine energy. So more collaborative, more, just brave, more vulnerable, more facing things in that avenue. And I'd like to pass it on to Anne.
Okay, great. I'm Anne Francesi, and I am a business and leadership coach. And I help executives of small to mid-sized businesses and those that have entrepreneurial-like positions. And I help them develop processes to create small wins so that ultimately they excel into those large wins. Because a happy me equals a happy life. So those are the things that I do and love to help my clients move along the way. So it's great to be here. It's great to be here with this group of ladies that I've learned a lot from, and we all collaborate. So we hope that today is just as inspiring for you as it is for us. Okay.
And to make that inspiring, I'd like to open this up for us to discuss what awareness is. And awareness is one of our first major disciplines that we've learned in our core dynamics courses that we've taken that bring us around to every opportunity during the day. And I'd like to have Anne share with us what she feels about awareness.
Great. Well, awareness is that ability to actually see something that you haven't seen before. So what we in coaching land look for is we look to help our clients understand what it is that they're not seeing and how can we bring that forward in a way where it is seen. So using awareness is the first step in the process for you to have more clarity and ultimately make decisions on things that are necessary. So with that, who else has some ideas on what awareness means to them?
Well, I'll pop in because awareness to me, because I think, we actually help our clients become aware. And in that process, we also have to become aware. And during these times of COVID-19, it's a really powerful time to tap in to the awareness of our feelings, our emotions.
Mhm.
What we believe is real may not actually be real. So what we believe is true might not actually be true. Some of our own beliefs may not actually be serving us. And becoming really aware of that. And lately, too, I've been using awareness, going on walks in the woods without input from podcasts or music or anything like that. And just walking and just being fully aware of the surroundings, of, the changes in the leaves now that spring is here where I am, and the animals, and just being aware of what's around me.
I'd
Well,
like to add to that.
Nancy,
Oh,
right.
okay. I'd like to add to that because I can relate with what Nancy's saying of going out into nature, because I'm a runner and I do that in a meditative space. But the reality of how I've had to go run these days is because it's been impacted by the COVID-19. And so it's wearing masks or staying the distance from people. But what I find is that being aware of my emotions out there and my distance with people and the respect to give to other people. But the other thing I've been really, really, really noticing is the quality of spring, the smells, the trees, the blooms, nature, and the energy of people, that we have all become different in our actions, in a sense, because of what's been going on. And more people are becoming out there and they're connecting in a different way. And so bringing that awareness of one of my strongest values is what Karen, I've learned with her. I didn't realize my strongest value was connection, and how that's been so impacted, and how I had to become aware of what I felt about that and change within myself. So sometimes our challenges can be the best opportunities for our growth. We may not like the challenge, but how can we bring that to grow
Love
through
that.
it?
I love that. So what was coming up for me in where you guys were in all of this is awareness is the ability to expand, right? And so you have to have that sense of openness, right? Remember, if you can't know what you don't know, and then you kind of keep yourself blocked from knowing, those barriers. But when you're starting to be aware of something that's discomfort, you kind of want to get past it. And so how do you expand into it? How do you listen well enough to understand what you're supposed to hear, to build awareness, right, to what you're supposed to gain from it? So it's almost like when you're in nature, you feel connected. So you can't feel connected unless your heightened sense of awareness is there, right? So the ability to bring about that sense of expansion, to be open, to listen, to hear. Oftentimes we close all of that off because we're afraid, or we just don't want to, or resist, or avoid. So be constricted, right? So bringing about that sense of awareness that expands to what's really available there. Like you were saying, Nancy, truth, to discern. You don't start to build that discernment muscle until you've allowed yourself the expansion to say, what is it even telling me? What am I supposed to hear?
Right. And oftentimes we cannot even see or be aware of these things because we're so into what we are doing and how we do it. Yeah. And until there's some type of disruption that we have, whether we control it or we don't control it in terms of where we are today, then until we can actually start seeing it and slowing down and being open to, like what you said before, if we're constantly just going in our motion, this is my way, this is the way I do things, this is the way I've done things, this is the way that works for me, then we're not expanding. Yeah. We're still what some people say playing small, but basically we're just keeping ourselves contained because it had been working for us. But then sometimes that disruption leads to innovation. So being, where some people can, I just thought of that nature. See, some people can go out into nature, but after they've come from this work environment and this pace that they've got themselves wound up in, they don't see anything but from A to B, and they're not seeing the sky that's opened up. So, and those are the types of things to actually look for. Or I loved how you use that term, Karen, about building the muscle. I mean, it's you're building that muscle of awareness. And how can you do that? What can you apply each day to say, what can I look for? How can I look at something in a different way? How can I be open to what someone else is saying? How can I listen in a different way?
Mm-hmm.
So those are all great aspects of where awareness comes from.
So I've learned, I'm also certified in the Happiness Studies Academy, and kind of feeding off what Karen and Anne both said, there's a hidden fear behind that, what keeps us stuck and limited. And becoming aware of maybe what that fear is, stepping beyond that. And what I like to share is giving yourself the permission to be human.
Mm-hmm.
Be aware of your emotions and give yourself permission to experience them.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, Karen, because I think emotions are so incredibly important. We have a lot of judgments around emotions from growing up. Many of us, we weren't taught that emotions were okay to have. However, it's part of our operating system. It's part of our physical, emotional, mental body. It's simply sending us information. And when we're not judging the emotions as good or bad or right or wrong, but we're simply being present with the emotion and allowing it to be there and curious, aware of what that is we're feeling in our body and allowing it to flow through us, it doesn't end up having the power over it that it may have if we suppress it or keep it in or we let it explode. So becoming aware of our emotions is something really powerful we can even start with. And it reminded me of, so yesterday I went to Trader Joe's, and I love going to Trader Joe's. I didn't like it so much yesterday amid this current epidemic because it was different. I haven't been in a couple weeks. You know, we all have to wear masks and that's fine. And we have to wait outside because there's only so many people that are allowed in the store at a time, and that's fine. And everybody in the stores were respectful and keeping distances and all that stuff. But what came to me was the awareness of checking out. There were no lines, so it was just a different experience than I'm used to, because usually I'm joking around with the person that's checking me out. We're having a good time. I'm helping bag, etc. It was much different yesterday. There was there was yellow tape on the floor, a box that I had to step into and stand in while they took my groceries out of the basket, scanned it, and then somebody else was bagging it. And I had to stay in this box with plexiglass between me and the person. So I couldn't even have that conversation. Oh, and we're all wearing masks. You know, so it was just a different experience. It was lacking that human connection that we normally have. Now, Trader Joe's is still wonderful and people are fine, but it's a different experience now. And I've been going to the grocery store, going on supply runs because it sounds more adventurous than going to the grocery store. Even being aware of my emotions in that and coming home and realizing I really needed to clear my energy, because not only was I having my own emotions, but I also was around all these other people, and there's a lot of fear out there.
Mm-hmm.
So being aware that we might be taking on other people's emotions also is a really important part of this process.
Yeah, it was making me think of it's almost like before you get to awareness, you've got this little bit of discomfort, right? And so the more you're able to look at that discomfort, that's when it's like the highlight of, oh, what is this? You know, like you were saying, Karen, fear. So how do you know when something is, you know, how do you know that you don't know something? Because of course you can't know, right? So it's the discomfort that you do know. It's the fear that you can feel. it's your mind playing that loop, that, you know, that mental loop over and over, going, yeah, I'm standing here and this is weird, and I have a mask on and I can't, and this, I've never done this before, and all of this feels really weird, right? And so that's that discomfort that we can identify with right at that moment. And so we don't get to awareness until we start to consider, what did this mean? What does it look like? We go deeper, and that's how we expand, right? And so in anything, in everything, every opportunity that you feel that little moment, like I love to call it the ick factor. Ick stands for inner conflict of knowing. The ability to say, there is something I know about this that doesn't feel right. And chances are, if you go deep enough, you'll see it's that ego strongly telling you something, and you know something else inside that's so much more truthful, but it's like this conflict where you just got to figure it out. And most of us oftentimes just kind of go on about our day and just don't ever put much around it. So that's where we stay constricted or stay fearful or stay small. So the ability for us to stop and say, okay, what is that? What is that ick factor? What is it really trying to show me and tell me? And that's where we start with the awareness, right? And the more self-aware we have, the more we can go into, what does it really mean? Why have we been given this experience? And that's the ability to expand, right?
Right.
And then on the other side of that ability to become more aware, you have choices now. That's where you build that discernment muscle, so to speak, and decide, what do I have now that's more information that I didn't have before, that I can use to make the choices that help me get to my highest level of, you know, my maximized potential, my highest performance, my ability to be out on the track, giving myself the best, right, Karen? My ability to bring, you know, to help my clients deliver their best foot forward. Just, you know.
Yeah. Well,
Nancy made a great point, though, too, because we do learn these behaviors. We do learn this shutting down those emotions, not paying attention to what you're feeling, and not responding, because we weren't allowed to.
Absolutely.
And so it's that first strongest step is being aware of what you're feeling. And
that it's okay. And that it's okay. We push that away because it's
right.
not, we're scared of what it might feel like. We're scared of those emotions. We know we've been taught that is bad, right?
Right.
But
now we can be retaught that those are really good. It's just being aware of your own emotions, and how beautiful is that when we can embrace really what we feel inside and what is important that matters to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, and this awareness, and while we've talked a lot about this awareness being focused on ourselves, the awareness is also externally, those that are around us. So we can be aware of what's happening with someone else and what they're feeling and maybe what they're going through if we are aware enough to listen to that. So when you talk about like going deeper in this awareness and the fear, what we're seeing, especially today, I see a lot of is I'm recognizing risk tolerances. Mm-hmm. So what's someone's ability to not take risk, you know, or take risks during this time of unknown. So with COVID, it's unknown. And so I have some friends who boxes come and they sit in the garage for 5 days, and that's where they are. And then others are just hand me that box and let me go with it, and we'll just wipe it off maybe. So everyone has a different risk tolerance. And until we're aware, we don't even know what our risk tolerance is until something like this shows up. And COVID has made us rethink all kinds of things, how we handle things. Should we wipe off our credit card? We don't even, people don't take a credit card from us anymore, so there's all those things that go along with that. So
I loved what you were just saying there about others and the awareness of others too. And that's where I think that we as a society have grown to be very empathetic in this time and becoming much more astutely aware of everyone else. and our own self-awareness. I mean, we've been forced to create our own self-awareness now. If you haven't had a chance to do some self-exploring through this COVID-19, you missed the boat, sorry. But really being able to take it to the next level and help see how other people, like you said, Anne, everybody's going through this in a vastly different way. You know, some stories of tragedy, some stories of absolute, you know, beautiful experiences, and run the gambit all in between. But the ability for all of us to be able to look and say, wow, everyone has their own level of awareness of this.
Well, and for the four of us in our training that we've had, part of our goal and mission to the world is to raise that energetic awareness. So raise the energy of the world in a way. And that's what is happening, because as you raise this awareness, we move and shift from anger and fear and frustration over to having some empathy and feeling for others. And it's this way of being contained that gives us a chance to reflect, if we'll allow ourselves to reflect, even on ourselves, right? And then once we on ourselves, others. I mean, we're living some, I'm an empty nester. So there have been weeks that I've had no one else in my house but myself and my puppy, right? But yeah, there are other families that are dealing with young kids. They're homeschooling. The challenges are all being brought on. You've got probably relationships that you'll have in some households, and either they'll come out of this either flourishing or in divorce court. Who knows? I mean, these are real things that are going on for people, and it's a trying time. And it's also, I look at this and I think of the how our family and many other families are using Zoom, like this here, and we are bringing our families together. Every Sunday night is Zoom night. So my young adults come in and get to talk to grandparents and get to talk to cousins, and we're all coming about and learning things that we would not have done prior. And it's really bringing that sense of community, even when we can't be there physically. But this connection through the video really does help us, and it helps us move forward in a lot of ways. So interesting times, for sure.
Nancy, do you have something to add to that?
I was going to say, yeah, we are in interesting times. And what was coming up to me was awareness. And you brought up some great points, Anne, about everybody has a different risk tolerance, right? And so I think it comes into some self-compassion during this time, being away, but also compassion for others, because we're all experiencing this differently. We all have different views of the world. We all have different beliefs. Nobody has the same pair of glasses in how they view the world, on how they're viewing COVID-19. And some self-compassion and compassion and empathy for others goes a long way. And being aware our beliefs are not necessarily someone else's beliefs, and recognizing they're going to be dealing with this differently. Yeah, I love the quote, people are doing the best they can. And if we believe that, it helps us to have some empathy towards them.
For sure.
Easily get pissed off at people. I will be real about that. Easily get aggravated by others and what they're doing and what impact they might be having on others. And that doesn't dismiss, doesn't dismiss bad behavior, basically. That's going to hurt others. But we can look at it from a different lens, I guess I can say.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a choice.
Right.
We
So
do have a choice.
We don't have, things may not be necessarily the way we want it. It may not be the best, but we have a choice to become the best through it.
Mm-hmm.
We have a choice of how we respond to it. And so being aware of, like you said, families are stuck at home with their children. They're not used to having them maybe through the summer months, but families oh, they're going to go to school in another week, kids are out the door. Now they're there full time and they're homeschooling their kids. And then how can you be aware of the opportunities that are present to you and look at it in that compassionate heart, in that loving kindness heart? And how can you grow those relationships that you didn't have the opportunity to do before because you were running out the door working? Now you're not running out the door working. The kids aren't running out the door to go to school. So what is the beautiful opportunity today?
It's funny, I'm thinking about how, that mindset of just walking out the door and going to work was almost like those were habitual kind of things. Like you just start to be conditioned to believe that's what you're supposed to do. And now we've turned upside down, right? So I was listening to one of Deepak's meditations, and the first thing he talked about was there's 3 different types of people in this world right now, where there's unconscious that are just kind of doing habitual, whatever. There's the aware that they might be able to say, oh, this is me doing that. This is me walking out the door, going to work again. And then there are the self-aware who are able to say, I have a choice. And it really isn't until you expand that self-awareness muscle that you realize you have choices. Like this is an aha for me right now. Because when you're feeling unconscious and you're just in habit mode, you don't see choice, right? It's those glasses, right, Nance, that you don't see choice. There's no choice. There's no option. You're just doing it.
Yeah. And aware of what society has told you.
Exactly.
Right now that's been flipped on the head, right?
Sure.
And I think we probably all went through it moving into being an entrepreneur, that 9 to 5 job. I don't know how many of you were in 9 to 5 jobs, but I was in a normal 40-hour work week, right? And then you become an entrepreneur, and that flips all of that on the head. And you have to rearrange things, but you realize that's just a societal.
Yeah. Conditioned belief,
right? Limiting belief at that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because look how many people are actually working from home right now, where organizations told them, no, you'll never be able to do that.
Exactly.
We can't do that.
Right.
And have to be flexible in their hours because of the children at home, right? If I had to work around and juggle with partners and figure out where, in their desk space, and
sure, had to figure it out.
Had to figure out connection issues and yeah, and just the awareness too of the inequities that this pandemic has brought up in different parts of the country. And I'm just looking at public school systems and how they've been able to handle or not handle the pandemic effectively because of inequities and lack of computers and Wi-Fi and internet access, and how that impacted schooling from home.
Well, I do feel that when you talk about inequities and looking at the world, and then the different segments and the categories, and those that had technology and those that were embracing it, right? They've been ahead of the game, but the other ones are coming up. I mean, they've had to jump in and they've had to dive in. So this change of work from home, I mean, there's so many changes that may stick. A lot of these new things are going to stick around, and then other things will be incorporated. I have a friend, and she's in the consulting arena, and they're thinking that they will not have a full-time staff for at least a year before everyone will go back and be in the office. So how this looks is different. But I wanted to go back a little bit, and when you talked about sort of the disruption and what it can look like and the fear that it can hold, so that people can understand. I mean, part of it, the awareness is there. You may not see it, but when we look at opportunities, but also to create those opportunities, we may have to create boundaries within the household or within the dynamics of who we're operating with. And that's okay. I think that sometimes we get into situations and we think we have to just deal with it, and there are things that we can't do. But there are ways to put boundaries around ourselves, give ourselves the time out if that's what it takes. And that's okay, and that's necessary because we're developing new. And I think that being able to be creative because this is new, think about your new routines. Think about the things that you can do, like get out. And all of those, that's that sense of awareness coming to fruition where you're actually taking some action on it. So those are things that came to mind when I hear just
So
what's
what I hear in that too is sometimes we've been taught that when we take care of ourselves, it's called selfish.
Yeah.
But then if we give up ourselves and take care of others, it's called selfless. But if we balance it, become the aware of it's okay to take care of ourselves, just like you said, Anne, and it's okay to take care of other people. That's called self-full.
Oh, I love that.
So it's bringing the balance of awareness is like, hey, I've had enough of this family. I need a timeout. And where can you go? Where can you have your designated time for your timeout? Do you need to go out for a walk? Do you need to go to your purple room? Do you need to go? But where do you need to go for that timeout, for that quiet time? Take that time to listen to Deepak and meditate, or whatever works for you to become aware and become your own self again. So you can go back out and interact with the family that's out there.
I love that.
That's
But look
good.
at the awareness of that again, right? It comes back to awareness. It comes back to the fact that you became discomfort in a place of spending so much time with all these other people and you couldn't deal anymore. That's the discomfort. And then all of a sudden you have to expand into awareness, right? So there you go again, just this little cycle of how do you recognize the moment of discomfort. You can't do anything about it until you lean into it, right? Lean into the discomfort. Like Pema Chodron always says, lean into the sharp edges. And on the other side of that, where you thought you were fearful, is growth. So we've been forced into an environment where we were very discomfort. It was a lot of discomfort. We've had to learn self-awareness, awareness of others in order to become self-full.
That was beautifully said, Karen.
That was good.
Do we want to wrap
We're a
up?
powerful group.
I love this. This was fun.
Yeah.
Well, because it gets into too the tricky one, which is what are we tolerating?
Yeah. Yeah, that goes
True.
back to boundaries, right? The ability to say, I'm not willing to put boundaries up because I can keep taking, or keep doing and doing.
Or or what Karen said is, I have to take care of others instead of myself. So not being selfful, being
Selfless.
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 And
Yeah.
so when you do that, I mean, that's that compassion that it's all you do is you give.
Yeah. Except
Until you're so drained, you break.
Yep.
And bringing awareness around your sense of giving and the feeling you get from giving to others, but give to yourself.
yes.
So you get that same energy of growth in yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're always to others, you're draining your energy. When you're giving back and forth and you give to yourself, you're energizing yourself and others.
And think about it, when all of the people around you are doing the same thing, you're all full.
Right. That's a powerful household.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love the concept of the gas tank, right? So that as you give to others, it fills up some people's tanks, and as you give to yourself, that can fill up your tank. You have to decide what you need to fill up your tank and play around with it and see.
Mm-hmm.
But to give away and let people take from you all the time, that's the awareness of identifying, wait, that doesn't feel good to me.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the ick factor, but it doesn't feel good. And then switch it around and see what can feel good, what makes me tick, and fill up the tank. And we're all unique, right? We're all unique, and we all have different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, we all have different ways. And I think you bring up a good point, because during this COVID-19, we may need to ask for help.
Mhm.
So we may need others to give to us. There are so many, like small businesses that are struggling. And I know where I live, we are doing a lot to support the local small businesses that are having a hard time getting the loans, so that they don't go under, whether it's gift cards or getting takeout, or there's raffles online just in support of keeping them going.
Yeah. It'll be amazing to see. And it's funny, maybe we can just kind of bring this in on this thought alone would be, based on the heightened sense of awareness that we are all at, both individually and organizationally. And when I say organizational, we can use that even in the context of our own family, more with others. If you have a business where there are other people, all the way to the largest corporations that are having to make critical decisions, we are in a heightened sense of awareness. What does it look like on the other side of this? Will be so incredibly interesting, because we know there's growth in awareness.
Right.
And so how corporations are making these adaptations, how families are making these adaptations, how individuals are making these adaptations. Isn't there just this amazing hope for something on the other side of this that's absolutely the most spectacular thing we've ever seen as humanity?
How can we keep nurturing our Mother Earth? Because Mother Earth is like smiling her little heart out. Our environment has changed so amazing, to our better health.
Yeah.
And so I challenge people on, what you learn through this, can you move it forward? Because some people that were told that you're not going to ever work at home, you need to come into the office, that's kind of a control thing in the offices. Mm-hmm. But they find out maybe those employees are more productive when they're working at home.
It's exactly what I've seen from my clients.
And so I've heard a lot of people saying, I'm getting more work done as opposed to being distracted when I go to work, and they like what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And so how can globally, collectively, we take in the benefits that's going on today when we have the opportunity to move forward beyond this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that the trick to it all is, take those chances, be proactive. We have been reactive, and now let's be proactive. Let's build, and let's practice and keep practicing, practice awareness around what the new that we're doing, and then take that and build off of that. And then you'll finally get to the top of the peak, and you'll get to see what's on the other side. So it's all been great. Good ideas, good thoughts.
Yep. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Wonderful.
You guys are amazing.
Amazing
to share this opportunity together.
Yeah, ditto. Can't wait to get feedback from others to hear if there was any fun, ahas for them as well.
Right. Maybe people could post what their biggest takeaway was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
We'll come up with another word for the next session.
Definitely. Good. Or love to hear what anyone else would want us to talk about. Right.
Right. Exactly.
Any questions you want answered? Any curiosities you have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hello?
Definitely. All right. Cool. In the meantime, we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Go be aware.
Love it.
Yep.
Great.